Some of the more challenging interview questions you're going to be asked when you interview with Deloitte are behavioral interview questions. They're incredibly popular and they're pretty challenging to answer. In today's video though, I'm going to give you some of the actual behavioral interview questions Deloitte asked during the interview process, and I'm going to teach you how to answer these from a recruiter's perspective. Now, this is video 2 in a 4-part series on how to get a job with Deloitte. So if this is the first video you're watching, make sure you go back and watch the first one. And at the very end of this video, I will actually tee up the next one on the screen right here so you can seamlessly click that and go to the next one. Now, these 4 videos are designed to be a full course on everything you need to interview with Deloitte. And my promise to you is if you watch all 4 of these videos, you will be better prepared than 99% of the candidates who interview. All right, with that being said, let's get started. Now, first things first, how do you know you're being asked a behavioral interview question? Well, a behavioral interview question is basically a question that forces you to recall a previous time in your career and walk the person through how you handled that situation. So anytime a question starts with, can you give me an example of a time when? Or tell me about a time when, that is your clue that you're being asked a behavioral interview question. Now, when you're asked a behavioral interview question, you want to use the STAR technique. And the STAR technique is basically an acronym that exists to help you answer behavioral interview questions by making sure that you're including all necessary details. Now, the acronym stands for situation, task, action, and response. What was the situation you were in? Like, where were you working? Task, what was the specific thing you needed to complete of the situation you were in? Action, what did you specifically do? And result, what was the outcome of all of this? And if you can walk through the behavioral interview questions and use this acronym to answer the question, you'll include all the necessary information most of the time. All right, with that being said, let's get into some of the actual questions. By the way, if you want to be like the best prepared candidate possible, what I want you to do is go down into the description box, that first link next to the fire emojis, well, that is my full interview prep guide. Now, that guide is a guide to help you prepare for any interview you do for the rest of your life. It has instructional videos, it has worksheets to fill out, and it has templates that you can use in interacting with hiring managers, recruiters, and HR people. And it's designed to basically put you in the position to nail every interview you have for the rest of your life. And it costs less than getting a week's worth of Starbucks. So if you want to become the best interviewer possible, go down in the description box, click that link. Okay, so the first question is, can you give me an example of a time where you've had to influence multiple stakeholders with conflicting priorities? This is a great question, and if you're someone who is applying for Deloitte and you're in a consultant position, you're going to need to have a good answer for this because you're often going to be working with people, and when you're working with groups of people, they will have different perspectives. They will have different opinions on things, how they should be done, and they will definitely have different priorities. If you're working with people, especially if you're talking about different groups of people, maybe in different verticals, they're going to have very different priorities. So it's important that 1, you are comfortable in this situation, and 2, you're comfortable influencing them. And you have a strategy on how to get people who may be in conflict to agree on something that's important and would require substantial effort and potentially cost. So when you're answering this question, you want to make sure you have a good example of a time you were able to do this. You want to express in your answer that this is something you were used to. You've encountered it many times, you have a strategy for it, and the example that you want to reference is blank. And they should sense in their comfortability with this type of situation, a clear strategy, and that you're successful doing this. Now, it is important that they listen to your answer and they walk away feeling, okay, this is a person who is absolutely capable of this, and they seem quite comfortable doing this, and they have good experience doing it in the past. And if they get that feeling while they're listening to you answer this question, you're going to do a great job. This question should probably take you no more than 2 minutes to answer. I would say shoot for 60 to 120 seconds. One of the things you want to make sure you don't do with behavioral interview questions is you don't want to take too long. It can be really easy to go on for 5 minutes, but if you do that, you're probably not succeeding. The next question is, walk us through an example of a time where you had to analyze data and present it to influence business decisions. This is really important, right? Because in the role that you're going to take with Deloitte, when you get the job offer, you're going to need to use data. You're going to need to look at data, digest it. You're going to need to articulate a plan that you form because of the data. So this should be one of those things where you should have plenty of examples here. It's really important that you follow the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. And again, they sense that you are comfortable here. You are someone who is comfortable living in the world of data. You're comfortable looking at it, you're comfortable drawing conclusions from it, and you're comfortable articulating what the strategy should be based on that data. They should feel that. when you answer this question, a good way to start is, oh yeah, I have plenty of examples like that. I really love using data in my work. A really good example is blank. And then you can go into talking about a time. Now, I can't tell you exactly what to say here because this is going to be one of your examples from your career. But remember, STAR method, they need to feel that you are comfortable, and your example should absolutely include a time that you were able to draw a really compelling conclusion from data that made a big difference in the business of the person that you were consulting with. And if you can do that, you'll do great. Okay, so this next question is, describe a time where you led a cross-functional team to achieve a desired outcome under tight deadlines. Great question, right? What they're getting at here is they want to understand, what kind of leader are you? How do you manage leading teams, specifically cross-functional teams, which complicates it a bit because it's people with different skill sets, abilities, backgrounds, etc. They further ratchet up the difficulty by throwing in tight deadline. So it's really important that whatever your answer is, well, it also shows, well, yeah, I had a really tight deadline here. I had to move quick. There was a ticking clock here. So I think it's really important to use the STAR method here, of course, right? You want to do that. Be concise in your answer. It's got to be under 2 minutes here. It's really important. But you need to walk them through how you led these people, right? And I think it's really important that there's enthusiasm here, right? The person who they want to hire for this role is going to like leading people. They're going to be charged by leadership. And they're not going to feel the burden of pressure under a tight deadline, but rather they're the type of person who steps up to the plate during those situations. And they need to feel that during your answer. Now, your answer is going to be something specific from your career, but you should absolutely use an example that ticks all those boxes. Needs to be cross-functional, right? If it's not cross-functional, doesn't answer the question. Needs to be under a tight deadline. If you're not leading them under a tight deadline, well, it also doesn't answer the question. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they answer behavioral interview questions is they don't actually give a situation that aligns with what the question is. They get halfway there, and that's not going to get it done. But if you can do that, you can be concise, use a STAR method. They can sense that you are a strong leader who's comfortable and energized by it, and you don't have the pressure of a tight deadline. Rather, you're someone who steps up to the plate and you're comfortable in those type of high stress situations, you will do great. Now, one of the questions they're also going to ask you when you're interviewing with Deloitte is, why do you want to work here? And I argue that it's the most important question you're going to be asked in the entire interview process. So important, I made an entire video on it right here. This video is going to walk you through how to answer the most important question you're going to get asked in your interview with Deloitte. So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there.